Alright, welcome back to my channel. Yeah, today is Wednesday and spooky animation. But hello, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Daniel. I'll be your host, your guy in the chair.
Guy in the chair.
And today for spooky animation, we're gonna be watching and enjoying true neighborhood horror stories. I can't talk today, but enjoy.
When I was 7 years old, my parents told my siblings and I that we were moving to a new house. It was exciting. I found out that the house was much bigger than the one we had at the time, which was great because I have a big family. For some details, the house was in more of a rural area, and it was close to a forest. We finished getting everything and everyone situated about a month after we bought the house, and we were all happy with it. I ended up sharing a room with my sister, who we'll call Bella, which her and I were fine with. In our room, there was a big window covering almost the whole wall. My bed was in front of it. I noticed something was a little odd when, after about 3 weeks of being situated, I would hear knocking on the window late at night. But I just blew it off as a bat or something. But I was mistaken. This would going on about every other day at around any time between 9 or 10 p.m. And I know I wasn't just hearing things because Bella would hear it too. And even my cat would get scared sometimes if he was sleeping on my bed. He would be sleeping on my stomach, but when he would hear that, he would get scared and curl against my chest. This actually made me feel safe, so I would be fine. A couple years would go by with the same thing happening. And when I was around 10, I would still hear the knocking, but I would also hear scratching. Not scratching like a mouse or anything, but scratching as if someone was dragging their nails against the window. This scared me, but every time I would look to see if something was there, it stopped. I would sleep next to my cat every night, but he eventually stopped sleeping with me because this would annoy him. And on top of that, Bella had gotten her own room, so I was all alone. I had gotten sick of it, and I was sad because my cat wouldn't snuggle with me. I told my parents eventually. "Oh, you're just imagining it. Just stop overeating," they said. This got me a little frustrated, but mostly sad because they just blew it off right away. I even started sleeping in the living room on the couch. This didn't help, though, because the knocking and scratching started happening in the living room. I even tried the bathroom that had no windows, but then I would hear it on the door. I would hear it wherever I would go to sleep. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't. It was terrible. It got to the point where I wasn't sleeping because the noise would keep me up. As years would go by, there were more noises. By the time I was 12, I would hear knocking, scratching, slapping on the window, and even what sounded like kicking. I hated it. One day, when I was 13, however, a whole week went by without any noise at all. A week turned into a month, and a month turned into a whole year. It was great. I would be way more energetic because I would get more sleep, and I was happier because my cat started to sleep on me again. Everyone could see a change in my personality, and they thought it was great, so no one ever asked me about anything. One afternoon, my younger brother, who I'll call Jack, and I were playing with a soccer ball in the backyard. We were just kicking it back and forth, messing around with each other, when I accidentally kicked the ball too hard and it went far into the forest. Jack and I both went to get it, but we couldn't see it or find it anywhere. But we were getting a little far away from our house, so I said that we should go back. "Wait, look," Jack said. I looked where he was pointing, and down a hill, we saw a little wood cabin with a man in the front yard, and he was holding our soccer ball. Jack said we should ask him for it back, but I felt a little uneasy about it. I said we should just go back, but while I was turning around, Jack ran down the hill, shouting, "Hey, you have our ball!" I had to chase after him, and once we were both down, we were in the man's yard. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was yours. It just rolled into my yard," the man said. He sounded really nice. I told him that I was sorry and that we were just playing and that I kicked it too far. He said it was fine and gave our ball back. He introduced himself as Tom. He looked to be in his late 40s or early 50s. He was tall and skinny, and he had short brown hair. He asked how old we were. That kind of made me uncomfortable, so I didn't answer. But without any hesitation, Jack said, "I'm 9 and she's 14. We live up there," as he pointed to our house. I looked at him with a concerned look because I thought he shouldn't be telling him that. There was a moment of silence when all of a sudden Tom said something that scared me, and I could tell it scared Jackson as well by the look of his face. He said, "Yeah, I know. I watch you guys outside sometimes." He snickered after he said this, which made me even more uncomfortable. I told him that we should get home because our parents are going to be wondering where we were. He sighed and then said it was fine. Jack and I both ran home, and we were both weirded out by that guy. Once we got home, he kept apologizing, and I kept saying it wasn't his fault that Tom guy was a creep. We decided not to tell our parents because we thought that they would get mad at us for going into the forest. Now that I think about it, that was stupid. About 1 week after that, I was about to fall asleep with my cat when all of a sudden, knock, knock, knock. I heard the knocks again. I couldn't believe it. A whole year without that terrible noise, and now it's back? I was so scared. This kept going on, so I looked up, and this wasn't a surprise, but it stopped. And when I looked away, it started up again. My cat left my room, which made me even more scared because now I was alone. I was fed up, so I decided to go outside and look if something or someone was there. I got up, walked to the back door, and went outside. It was about 10 p.m., so it was really dark. I don't think to get a flashlight, so I was just trying to rely on the moonlight. All of a sudden, I felt someone grab me from behind and cover my mouth. This terrified me, so I kept kicking. Whoever grabbed me wouldn't let me go and was carrying me into the forest. I cried and kept trying to think of what to do. I thought that I should bite his hand, so I did. He yelled as he dropped me. I then kicked his shin as hard as I could. I then looked at his face. I noticed that it was Tom. "You brat," he said as he tried to grab me again. I started running back home and screaming as loud as I could. As I got closer to my house, I noticed that my dad had come outside with his shotgun and a flashlight. Thankfully, he saw me and started running towards me. He then saw Tom and told him to stay away or he would shoot him. My mom then came outside and I ran to her and I told her to call the police. My dad told Tom that we were calling the cops and to stay where he was. Tom then threw a big rock that he had in his hand right at my dad's head. My dad fell over and Tom ran back to his house. When Tom was nowhere to be seen, that's when we heard 2 police sirens. I told them what happened and how Tom had ran back to his house. More police went to his house while 2 stayed with me and my parents. Eventually, my whole family woke up and came outside. All of a sudden, we heard a gunshot, and then another. In total, we heard 9 gunshots. Once the cops came back, they talked to my parents. I didn't listen, but my mom told me the important stuff. She told me that once 2 police got there, they broke down the door, only to see Tom sitting on the floor with his back turned to the wall. When they told him to stand up and to put his hands behind his back, Tom stood up and quickly turned around and shot one of the police officers. He kept shooting wildly at the police officers when one of them was able to shoot him. Tom had killed 1 police officer and injured 3. However, Tom himself had died. The police said that when they searched his home after he was down, they found pictures all over his walls. The pictures were of me, Jack, Bella, my mom, my dad, and so many other of my siblings, along with some of many young girls and boys. It was horrible to hear. The police also said that they had found a total of 3 dead bodies in what they thought must have been his room. I just knew that he was the one who was knocking on my window all these years. I was scared to know that it was actually a man who was doing it, but I'm relieved that it has now stopped. My family and I still live in the same house, and my cat has gotten used to sleep with me again. I'm really happy that things have gone back to normal. Sometimes I still have dreams about Tom, though, about his chilling smile and about how he would make noises on my window, knocking, scratching. It's horrible. I would hate for anyone else to have to go through this.
Hey, you guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that, and that should show everybody that stranger danger, and don't talk to strangers. I was seeing my balls at my ball. I'll get a new one. But hey, be careful out there. There's a lot of strange people. But don't forget, like it, comment below, and then subscribe and hit the notification bell every time I post a new video. Bye-bye, and see you in another video.